Hey everybody, this is Russ from Retro Game Core. Yes, this is an April Fool's joke, but don't turn it off. In fact, there's no big trick in this video at all. The trick has actually already been done. If you saw from the title and thumbnail that you clicked on to watch this video, I've been working on this for quite some time. And so in this video here, I'm just going to explain what I did and why, and I hope you have some fun in the process. Now, to really understand this year's video, we need to talk about last year's video. Longtime viewers will know that for about a year and a half, I did not acknowledge the existence of Super Mario Bros. 3 as a game. Basically, I would test the game all the time, especially when testing NES games, but I would say, hey, here's a game I've never heard of, let's just try this one out. Or I'd say something like, hey, here is this really obscure indie platformer you've never heard of. And all of it was just really a joke leading up to my April Fool's joke, which was that I claimed that I had created a new NES game and I was going to be calling it Super Mario Bros. 3. And I'll leave that video linked down below. That was kind of a fun one to make. Personally, I really like April Fool's jokes. I think it's just a fun way to let your hair down and just do something that's not your typical YouTube content. The year before that, I did a review of My Cat Chicken. That was a lot of fun too. But this year I was kind of conflicted. I had two ideas. Number one, I was going to buy a pair of JNCO jeans, you know, those really big jeans from the 90s. And then I was going to show how all these handhelds are actually pocketable. I was going to take the Steam Deck, put it in my pocket, all that kind of stuff. Well, it turns out that on eBay, JNCO jeans are like super expensive. And I didn't want to spend like $200 just getting a pair of jeans that may or may not fit properly in order to put like handhelds in it. It just seemed kind of ridiculous. So I ended up not going that route. Instead, I decided to do something a little bit more subtle, and so I embedded that in a bunch of videos over the past year, and I also really watched my YouTube comments to see if anybody noticed, and honestly, nobody did. It is a very subtle thing, and it's kind of a narrative I built in my own head, but all the same, I was hoping that somebody would catch on to it as well. So let's talk about how I got here today. To start, you know, I do a lot of testing for random games, and one of my favorites to test is actually Mario Kart Double Dash for the GameCube. And it just so happens there have been a lot of handhelds released over the past year that have been capable of playing that game. It's one of the lower end GameCube games, and so a lot of things can run it well. Now, initially when I was playing the game, I would just pick Mario, and then it would give me my default second character. You know, there's two characters in the car in that game, and it would always be Luigi. And that guy's kind of a schmuck, and I didn't really want to show that every single time, just because, I don't know, as a character, I didn't really like having him in the car with Mario. I wanted to expand to the other ones that are available. Now, logically, you would think that Princess Peach would be the next one. Obviously, that is Mario's main love interest, but I didn't really like her character in that game either. She was just kind of a wet noodle. And so I ended up using Daisy as my secondary character in that game for the most part. There's a few reasons for that. Number one is she's very close to the left side of the screen, and that makes it very easy for me as a game tester because I can just move over one, pick the girl, and then just keep going. If I wanted to play somebody else, you know, like Bowser or something, I have to move the cursor over. And when I'm doing a bunch of testing and trying to get a video out, all of those seconds really matter and they stack up when you're doing testing. Now, over time, I ended up really appreciating Daisy as a character in that game. Part of that had to do with her voice. When you actually use her and she's picking up something or dropping one of those power-ups, she makes this chirping kind of laugh, and it's just super cute and attractive. And so I don't know why, but I just wanted to use her all the time because I thought it was kind of cool. And honestly, I didn't really know much about Daisy before then. I knew that she was like the central princess in Super Mario Land for the original Game Boy, but that's not a game I played much, and so I really didn't have a lot of exposure to her until later when I saw like this orange dress girl showing up in like Mario games. And so it was kind of fun to go back and read a little bit about Daisy, and it's kind of crazy. If you go onto like the Mario Wiki and try to read about her, they have like a listing of every single one of her appearances, and it just gets kind of overwhelming. Either way, I thought that Daisy was kind of a fun character, and it turns out that she is a secondary love interest of Mario as well. In fact, if you read through that wiki page, you can find many occurrences where Princess Peach was jealous of Daisy because of the attention she was getting from Mario. Now, you may or may not know this, but I'm a writer at heart. In fact, I've written 3 cookbooks, but they all have kind of a narrative slant to them as well. I just love writing stories, and so because of that, I started writing a story in my head as I started thinking about Mario and Daisy. And so I started building this idea in my head: what if Mario and Daisy are like true loves, and Princess Peach is just kind of getting in the way? Same thing with Luigi, obviously, that guy always kind of plays second fiddle. And as you can imagine, when I'm doing game testing, it's a little bit mind-numbing, and so I just kind of wander. And so as I started thinking about Mario and Daisy as being true loves, I wanted to manifest that in the real world. And so what I started doing is embedding them together in my videos when I showed off that game content. Obviously with Mario Kart Double Dash, they were always paired together, but then I started doing the same thing with other games where it was easy to put them together, where it didn't take me a bunch of additional time just to make that pairing. So games like Mario Tennis for both the GameCube and the Wii U, it was pretty easy to put them together. And so all of a sudden, Peach was just out of the picture and Mario and Daisy were just having these fun little escapades together. And then of course, there was another subtle thing I started doing, which was putting their amiibos next to each other as well. This is the one I thought people would notice. I have a bunch of amiibos in this room. I've showed it off in my studio tour, and I thought somebody would say, hey, why are Mario and Daisy together and where's Peach? And so unfortunately that didn't happen, but either way, this is kind of my subtle way of adding them to the canon. The idea here is that I was trying to create my own fake Mandela effect. If you've ever heard about that, it's the idea where somebody kind of thinks of something happening that isn't true, and then all of a sudden people start agreeing with it. And then all of a sudden people get confused and they don't know which one was which or whatever. Now, whether or not I was successful is going to be up to you. I don't think I was, but all the same, it was one of those little things that was just fun for me to do while doing some mind-numbing things like game testing over and over and over and over again. And of course, as I started moving that forward, I thought to myself, this would make a pretty good April Fool's joke where I could show people, hey, I've been fooling you all year and you didn't know it either. I know a lot of people probably don't like April Fool's videos, so totally understand that and respect it. But I thought this would just be kind of a lighthearted way of showing some of the subtle things that I put in my videos just to make it interesting for me as I make it interesting for you. And really, that's about it for this video. I just kind of wanted to show that off. And if you haven't already, I would recommend checking out my other April Fool's videos. I'll leave them linked down below. Either way, I hope you're having a good weekend, and tomorrow I'll be releasing my Anbernic RG405M final review, and so be on the lookout for that. As always, thank you for watching. You probably didn't find this video helpful, but be sure to like and subscribe if you did, and we will see you next time. Happy gaming.